Hello, welcome back to the Evolution of Mom. I am your host, Amy Lenius, and I am showing up today as a bit of a hot mess express, to be super honest. But it's really important to me to show you all that you can show up for your dreams, for your goals, for your self-care, for anything that fulfills you, even when you're a hot mess. It sometimes can be adjusted or needs to be adjusted, but it's okay to show up less than perfect, as long as you're conscious enough to give yourself the grace and not beat yourself up around its lack of perfection. Perfection it's turning out to be a bad word in my language. Honestly, we have to learn to let that go. So I am showing up today as a hot mess because I'm recovering from surgery. I had a surgery done on my leg, and it's actually brought up a lot for me that I wanted to share with you all today. Today is the theme is going to be going deeper. Perfect example is the surgery I went through a few days ago on my leg, and what that recovery looks like. So on a superficial level, I'm elevating, I'm icing, I'm resting. But what about going deeper? And I'm going to get into other examples as I go through this episode, which will probably be a quick one because, like I said, hot mess express recovery over here. But when it comes to going deeper for the recovery of my surgery, let's say, I am making sure I am doing everything I can for skin health, for skin repair, for my gut health, and for my immune system. And I'm going to break down why. So as skin heals, there's things we can do to support that. Obviously, your body's going to do it on its own because that's what your body does. When given, especially the right environment, your body is capable of the most magic things. So regardless of what I do, my skin, with the help of the stitches, is going to fuse back together and be okay. But I don't want it to be just okay. I want it to be the best it can be. So I'm making sure I'm taking things like vitamin C. Vitamin C is very important for the health of skin repair. Also very good for boosting your immune system. I'm making sure I'm using essential oils and other healthy oils around the area, not on the stitches yet. Once the stitches are out, I'll use it right on the area to make sure that it's doing the best that it can, and I'm supporting it that way. And with my gut, when your body goes through something, even if it's just a little bit of a trauma, a big period of stress, your gut health takes a bit of a hit, and so does your immune system. Plus, I spent time in the hospital, so probably good to boost my immune system. So I'm also looking at it from that level as well. I'm making sure I'm taking something called inner defense, which boosts my immune system. I'm making sure I'm very on top of my gut health with the vitamin C, with pre and probiotics, and I'm nourishing my body with anything and everything that helps my skin heal and grow, and to make sure that I am functioning the best that I can. So I'm also focusing on my sleep. Sleep is when your body does the most repairing. That's its most restorative time, is when you allow the rest of your body to relax. Your body has more energy to heal. So sleep is very important to me right now. So I have a question for you. When something is going on in your life, how deep are you going with the cause and your treatment, your awareness, what you can be doing for it? Because this can be applied to everything. So superficially, rest, ice, elevate. But all of those things, I'm going deeper. Root cause. I mean, the root cause of this is someone sliced my leg open a couple times. So I know the root cause. But when it comes to emotional health, physical health, anything you're dealing with, your mental state, are you looking at it from a superficial level? Okay, in this moment, I lost my shit. I have no patience. And it's just because this thing happened right in this moment. Is it? Is it, or has it been a hard few days? And that was just kind of the last thing. Are you evaluating? Are you working backwards from a certain incident that maybe brought the awareness, but working backwards to give yourself a perspective of where that came from? When I was practicing, I really loved talking to my patients about preventative health, or looking at a root cause. If I had a woman coming in with a right anterior, so like a pelvic shift forward all the time. So think of your SI joints. Your SI joints are the ones that connect your big pelvic bone to your sacrum in the back. They're those two big knobby bits when you feel your low back. And this woman would come in and her pelvis was constantly shifted forward like this. And I would put it back and we'd do the treatment, release the muscles, dive deeper into just putting the adjustment back in, but making sure we're loosening the muscles that are tight in that aspect, right? Going deeper. But why does it keep happening? So we would talk about her life, her lifestyle, what she was doing on a day-to-day level that would cause this one side to keep going forward. And eventually, as we dug through her day and her physical behavior and what she did repetitively throughout her week, we were able to find the root cause and correct it from that space. Yes, I would have loved to have her continue to come see me, which she did, but just not as frequently, because I helped her find the root cause of what was causing her to come in with that deep pelvic pain, that low back shift that was debilitating her life on a very regular basis. How often are you diving that deep in anything? I think that we can dive deep and take a more than superficial look at anything that's going on. If something, let's say something really upsets you, and maybe you're putting blame on the other person that upsets you. Do you ever like dive deep into yourself and wonder why that was? Yes, it's easy on a superficial level to say, well, so-and-so said this and it really pissed me off and that was the end of it. Why did it tick you off so much? Have you ever done any core value work and maybe something that they said took a hit or attacked your core values a little bit? So if this is something that happens to you regularly, I would highly recommend doing some core value work, because a lot of us, we don't know what our core values are. And it's easy to talk about, oh, my core values are kindness and I don't know what superficial core values are, but I can't think of them right now. But when I got to dive into a space of growth and coaching, my coaches helped me with this so much. It was really obvious to me how your core values are the root cause of a lot of things that are giving you grief in your day, because what you're doing, what you're hearing, what you're saying, what you're not doing aren't aligning with your core values on a very deep level. So you can literally look up on the internet, go to Google and Google list of core values, and they'll list a ton. There's at least, I don't know, the last one I looked up, the list was over 50, I believe, long. And go through. So even if you can't come up with them on your own, that's okay. Find this list, go through them, write down every one. And if you're like me, you're going to write down probably 30. Especially women, we like to love all the things, right? Amelia, one of my favorite humans, her example of this is when someone asks you what your favorite color is. It's like, well, every color is my favorite. My answer is, well, what are you talking about? Is it nature? Any color in nature? My favorite color in nature is green. My favorite color for clothing is black. My favorite color of this is this. So women, we like to think that way. It's not as linear. It's very spectral. And I noticed this with my core value work. I loved them all. Of course, I value all of these things. So it was actually challenging to go deeper, to look at it on a deeper level. And once I gave myself the time and space to do so, I was able to see, well, this core value and this core value actually kind of come together into this main one. And I was able to narrow it down to, I think, 4, which I should have brought them up because I haven't looked at them in a little bit. I should have brought them up so I could read them. But I know my first 2 are freedom and love. And that freedom one was very vast. I had to put a lot of little ones into a big one. It was, freedom of time. freedom of body, freedom of choice, all of these things that kept coming up that aligned with one word, freedom. And it was always my top ones. And so having a number one core value of freedom, it brings a lot of awareness when things stifle what you feel is your sense of freedom and why you react to it. So I highly encourage you to look up those lists of core values if you can't come up with them on your own, which I even encourage you to look at the list anyways, even if you feel like you are able to come up with them, because it gives you things from a different perspective, maybe something you didn't think of that actually really does resonate with you. Write them all out and start to compress them. And I encourage you to narrow it down to 5 or less. Compress them into 5 or less. And then when you're doing anything, look at it through the lens of, is this aligning with my core values? Why, on this superficial level, did this bother me? How can I look at that deeper? Oh, because it didn't align with my value of freedom. It has been the most beautiful work I have ever done, because every time something conflicts, I can look at my core values. Even when it comes to my health, a lot of health conflicts I have had over the years, I realize now it's because they conflicted with my core value of people telling me, hey, you have to do this or you're never going to get better. You can't take this on your own. You don't have the choice to go and look at other modalities or the freedom to heal your body yourself. And I always wondered why that bothered me so much. It sounds obvious when you say it out loud, but obviously people weren't saying that directly. It was very subtle. And I kept wondering why this is hitting my ego so hard. But it wasn't my ego. It was my core values of not being given options and given the empowerment of the freedom that it takes to make your own choices when it comes to your health, to make your own choices when it comes to your life, your career, your children, their education. There's a reason I love homeschooling so much. I never thought I would. It was not something that was ever on my radar, but I love it so much because it gives us so much freedom. If we want to go on an adventure for a day, off we go. And I really noticed it when Maverick was in kindergarten, because we would pull him out, I would say at least once a week to go on an adventure for his mental health. We felt like he needed to be out at least one day a week because he struggled so hard being there. And it has aligned with our values so much to homeschool him and now homeschool Corbin. And it makes sense to me now because my two main ones are freedom and love. The freedom to love and adventure with my kids and have them dive into their interests from their passions and their purpose that they're going to discover in their life. It's really empowering to live from a space of your core values and to feel when something is in a space of resistance, when you're feeling that resistance of, oh, this doesn't feel right, or, oh, that didn't feel good, or, hey, that offended me, or whatever else it is, go back to your list. Keep it in your phone, your list of core values. Did that get attacked a little bit? Was that the fault of the other person? Probably not. They're in their own journey, and you can choose to understand why that hit you so hard. Probably because it didn't align with you. And you can learn about your own personal alignment through core value work, which helps you dive deeper into any situation. So whether it is something you're going through mentally, maybe you need support with your mindset, how can you dive deeper on that? Instead of just, well, it was because this day was busy and this ticked me off, and now this person said this, and now I'm a hot mess. Okay, how can we look at that deeper? How can we look for root cause? It's very, very important to me, the words root cause. Bringing it back to my health journey, no one ever looked at root cause for years and years and years. It took me fighting very hard and finding people and a community to support me, to help me find the root cause myself. because it was constantly superficial. Okay, here's this drug. Oh, this drug isn't working. Okay, here's this drug. What if we band-aid this drug with this drug because you're getting these side effects? No one talked to me about a holistic approach of your environment, your external and internal environment, your mindset, how all of these things work together like a community. If you've ever been to my public speaking, these are my biggest platforms: internal, external, community, how it all works together. But I feel like I went off on a rant there on things that I wasn't planning on bringing up, but it all kind of comes together on looking deeper. But it took me diving deeper into myself, into taking responsibility for my own body, my own health, for my own health journey. Looking deeper, as painful as it can be, as uncomfortable as it can be, as time consuming as it can be, is so worth it, because it gives you a sense of empowerment. It gives you a sense of peace of mind, knowing your true self and knowing what you can do to steer clear of things that don't align with it, that are causing you grief, that maybe you don't need to have in your life. I'm a big believer of letting go of what you can't control. This gives you another level of that. I hope that makes sense. I hope that this has empowered you a little bit to always look at something from what can I do on a superficial level right now, because those are important. That superficial level is important. It's like looking at acute versus chronic. Acutely, right now, I need to ice, rest, and elevate my leg. But on a deeper level, for long-term success, for the health of my whole body through this experience, I'm going to do all the things I listed in the beginning. I'm going to do my supplements. I'm going to make sure I'm resting. I'm going to do superficial, I guess not superficial, but preventative care and proactive care around my wound. What are the deeper levels that you can dive into with anything you are going through in your life right now? And how can doing some core value work help you get there? Hot mess express today. I hope all of that made sense. I'm still in deep recovery, but it did bring up a lot for me that I wanted to share with you about looking at things at a deeper level. So I hope this resonated with you today. If it does, always let me know. I love having discussions around all of this. Maybe you know someone who needs to hear this. Please share. And thank you, as always, so much for being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.